Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Subscriptions Scaled. I'm your host, Nick Fredrick. With me today, we have a special guest. We have Coulter Lewis, who is the founder and CEO of Sunday. Coulter, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about this business. As I was telling you a few seconds ago, I've checked you out before we had this session booked. So I can't wait to hear more about your business and how you guys are growing. So why don't we start there? Tell us about yourself. Tell us about Sunday.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So Sunday is, of course, founder and CEO of Sunday, and Sunday is a subscription lawn care service that uses data and ag tech to enable you to have a good-looking yard without a lot of work and without all the toxic pesticides.
Okay.
So you're really taking an entirely new approach to yard and property care.
Awesome. Well, so why did you just decide to start this business? Let's go with that.
Well, yeah, lawn care wasn't my whole life, outside of having a house in the backyard and that kind of thing. But the way I got drawn into this was really through the last business that my wife and I started together called Quinn Foods, or Quinn Snacks. It's a lot of DBA there, but it's a product you find on almost every grocery store shelf at this point. But we built that brand over 10 years. And throughout that time, got really involved in supply chain and where ingredients come from and how they're grown. And to the extent of like being in field with our farmers very often and working with them to reduce certain pesticides and things like that. So just saw what that world looks like and got, just honestly became kind of a great part of our lives is being involved in the agricultural side. And my wife still runs that business and still very involved. But when I started to look at this space, I saw it through that lens, through agriculture. And it ends up that makes sense because it's actually our third largest crop by land area, our backyards. Okay. And so it's also 10 times more land than all the organic farms combined. So it's this huge swath of the country. But we kind of seem to think about it like we're chemical cleaning a carpet rather than, we're taking care of a piece of land. And the way it really got driven home for me was, I have 3 boys, dog and house, little backyard. I was really excited about it and been in field with farmers and organic farmers, all that kind of thing. And then here I am at the department store, the hardware store, looking at racks and racks of incredibly powerful synthetic pesticides. Yeah. You can smell them from 30 feet away. And, just the entire experience felt like it was out of the time capsule. And so I was like, this doesn't feel right. There's something that feels like maybe there's a different way we can approach this. And that kicked off just a furious set of like researching, learning about the space, learning about the consumer, learning about the plant science, and eventually resulted in Sunday.
Awesome. So I was looking at your background. I saw the Quinn Foods, Quinn Snacks that you started, and was trying to figure out how you made the jump, from that to Sunday. It's interesting to hear that, a driver of that was working with farmers and learning how herbicides and pesticides are in a lot of what unfortunately, a lot of things. It's probably heading in a good direction, but I guess that's the connection there you made between those two.
Yeah, it's funny. When it first happened, I think people they did see it as a completely new direction. But when I go home, my wife and we still rant about the same problems we're trying to solve. Really? So to me, like nothing really changed all that much in terms of just a different market and different approach. But
yeah.
Well,
okay. So let's talk a little bit about what's different about those businesses. Obviously, you were talking about a food business, working with distributors, and then retailer to handle the direct interaction with the consumer. You've now taken a very working with the end consumer approach here at Sunday. So talk about that for a minute and kind of some of those lessons you've learned there.
Yeah, it is a world apart. There's just such a different type of business to run.
Yeah.
And I didn't go into this knowing we would. I think I started Sunday with the intention and the thought of retail because that was where my depth was and experience. And to be honest, like it's a very complex world. It takes a lot to learn and understand that, and to have the connections and the know-how to make it work. So I had that, and I was really excited to be able to use that. But what it turned out with Sunday was that where we really wanted to start was online, mostly because we were able, through a direct communication with the customer, to offer an end-to-end experience. So instead of selling a thing and saying, good luck, I hope it works, we were able to really, guide that person through their entire first year, give them shipments on time, and be able to apply all of that science to really enable them to do more. So this came out of kind of when we were in 2018, really investigating in the space, doing some testing, talking to lots of people. We learned this one thing that was really surprising, and that was that nobody knows anything about lawn care. And that's a 99.9% universal truth right there. And what we hear a lot of people would say, like, I'm a little different. I don't know a lot about this. And what that is that we're taught, like, if you're a man or you buy a house or you're a grown up now, like, you start to know these things, and that's not exactly how knowledge works.
Right.
And so everyone's walking around feeling like they're supposed to know this thing that they don't. And so, through the online experience, we're able to develop a platform that really help with it.
Awesome. So, all right. So is online the primary or the only channel right now of reaching consumer? Or are you dabbling in retail too, or?
So we will fairly soon have an announcement on retail. So we will have a retail partner that will be going live this year. Okay. We're really excited about. And we're able to bring kind of that Sunday experience and guidance to the shelf in a unique way, which is really neat. But that said, the vast majority of the business is direct to consumer, and that's the part that's been scaling over the last few years, and we're really excited about that. Yeah.
So what channels then are you using to market to consumers online? Is this paid search, or what are you guys using?
Yeah. So we starting off early on, we sold our first box to a customer in April of 2019, and so it's been
not that long ago.
Not that long ago. Yeah, it's been a pretty quick progression here, and I think that the growth curve we've had in that time frame, Facebook, Instagram has been one of the primary channels for us, and I think that's you get for a lot of brands, and so we developed a competency and ability in those channels, and so that's been one of the key drivers. Google search, things like that are also layered into that as well. I would say kind of that paid digital front. In addition to that, we do things like podcasts. We do things like direct mail. This year we'll have national TV campaign, which is new to us, and we're really excited about that. So that's just finishing up with the creative and getting the video ready to go. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Wow, you said direct mail there. So I'm a big fan. I came from a direct mail business originally. Is how I got into subscription, and I know very much that it's not dead, but you don't hear it talked about too much.
I think in our space, it's this is how this business, these sort of services are typically sold. And so you could think of Sundays fitting somewhere between, going to your local hardware store and buying a bottle of XYZ and hiring a professional to come to your property and do it for you. Sure. We're somewhere in between those two. So using the same channels those professionals would use makes a lot of sense for us. And I think people expect to see that message in their mailbox, come spring. Yeah. So that's part of the logic. I think we still have a little bit more lift, though. And it's a challenge for us on direct mail is that as a medium, we have so little attention span and so little opportunity to explain what Sunday is and how it's different. Mm-hmm. And we are a first of a kind, direct to consumer subscription lawn care company. So, sure. I think people have a mental model for how this works in other categories, but they've got to apply that to lawns. So that's one of the things we work really closely on with direct mail is to get that message across.
Have you seen the return there? I mean, is it something you're going to continue doing, or kind of? Oh
yeah, absolutely. It's a permanent part of our mix. Okay. I think we can keep making it more and more efficient, a bigger part of it, but it's here to stay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I heard you say there something that's the bit of the challenge is because it's a different model, you're having to educate consumers at the same time about how to think about this differently than they typically would. I've gone to the website. It takes you through a great journey, visuals, graphics, and can click around to, where you want to get more information, which is, of course, a little bit more challenging when you're talking about a printed piece of paper. So, yes. I can understand that challenge.
Yes. Yeah. And I think we're getting better and better at it and learning more about our customers. And I think also part of it is just having, a broader base of awareness. So as we're able to continue to scale the business, more households will be like, oh, I heard of this. My neighbor was talking about it. And then there's less of a lift for you in that piece of mail.
Yep, for sure. Well, is there some significance to the name Sunday? Is that when people typically mow their lawns? Is that kind of where that came from?
For me, what it came from was this realization that, across the country, every weekend, people are going outside, getting their hands dirty and caring for the little piece of land. Mm-hmm. And I think that tradition is just incredible. And to be a small part of that to me is an incredible honor. So that's it. It's a celebration of that pastime and that part of the American way of life.
Yeah. Speaking of people spending time in their lawns and more time in their lawns, I'm sure that has been accelerated over the past year as you got a whole lot more people spending time at home. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like like a lot of other e-commerce businesses, COVID has accelerated things for you?
I think we can't look at our baseline because we have no baseline. We're so new.
Mm-hmm.
What we can look at is the category overall, and it did increase by something like 20 some odd percent. So yeah, a banner year for lawn and garden, which makes sense. And I think it's, the description I hear sometimes, you're like, oh, people are sitting home looking at their yard. They might as well do something. And I'm like, I don't think that's quite it. I think it's more of a focus on home, right? I think that's what we're seeing across a lot of e-com brands. It's like home is a really special, important place. And I want to, further that and really enhance that. So I don't think that goes away. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's also the DIY component of what your product is, right? That's, getting your hands dirty, so to speak, but taking care of it yourself, right? Being out there and, spreading it around and doing that sort of thing. I think that's a connection people are looking for.
I think, yeah. So absolutely. There is something fundamental behind what we do. And even though it's a lawn and I think there's a lot of kind of, baggage there in terms of how we think about it, but in reality, it's a living organism that's yours. It's your piece of land to take care of. And when you go out there and you're successful and you actually have a relationship with it and you're able to care for it and see it get healthier, like that's a fundamentally pleasing thing. It feels really great. And for a lot of our customers, especially because how we position Sunday as being this kind of full end-to-end experience, they're coming in having not done that before. Like, this is too complicated for me. I'm not even gonna get involved because I'll mess it up. It's kind of their position that they're coming from. And so we give them that first taste of what it feels like to get outside and care for their property. And to me, that's very special. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, so you touched on it a little bit, but, getting consumers to think about this product and this service in a different way than they potentially typically have, it does seem to me to lend itself towards a subscription model, right? Because caring for your lawn is something you need to do spring, summer, and fall, right? It's very cyclical, which lends itself towards a subscription type model. But how are you working to get consumers to be more accepting of that type of model rather than going to the hardware store, the big box store, and grabbing that bag of fertilizer when they need it?
Yeah, I think that's a very real challenge too. This is the sort of thing where like, wow, it's nice this weekend. I'm gonna go grab that thing. And I think there is an immediacy that's even more important in our space that we need to offer enough value to overcome that. And I think now that we'll be in retail too, so we'll be able to satisfy some of that too. But for me, it's really like if the only value of the subscription is I don't have to remember to buy that. That's not enough. I think you're maybe not justifying every business is different. Every scenario is different, but speaking really broadly, if it's simply like auto replenishment, my life's not, even though my life's pretty complicated, 3 kids, 2 businesses, and everything else, I can still remember to buy things that I need, and so we really, at Sunday, we're trying to deliver a lot more value than that. It's not like skip a trip to the store. This is tailored to your property. It's going to ride. We're watching your weather, your climate, your rainfall, all these sort of things. We're providing you exactly what you need right when you need it, and it's all tailored to your property. So it's not just what you get at the store without the trip. It's actually a full experience delivered at the right time, right things.
Yeah. So Do you find yourselves educating consumers generally through the website on kind of that model and what they can expect, I guess, from a subscription to your service?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the challenges for us for sure is the amount we want to communicate versus, what we could fairly ask from our visitors and customers. I think that starts with value props. I mean, our value props for our customers are, it's tailored to your property based on your climate, your weather, lawn size, all these sort of things so that it works better and you get good results. So good results is one. It's delivered on time and easy hose and applications, crazy easy is another one, right? And then the other one is that we don't use synthetic pesticides in our fertilizers at all. And so you're having a property, you don't have to think about, worry about your kids and your pets and things like that. And just reducing all of that toxic input. And those are, getting those 3 points across is already too much. So it's it's challenging. And then on top of that, we have the communication load of this is what this thing is and how it works because you haven't seen it before. So I think we're 70% good at that. Hopefully we'll be good by the end of the year, but it's a continuous challenge. Yeah.
Well, I think, this is one of those products where word of mouth is going to speak for itself, right? Once somebody has that beautiful lawn and, the neighbors are going, how in the world did you do that? And then they find out it's organic and great for the pets and the kids and all that kind of stuff. That's just going to kind of sell itself to a certain degree, right?
100%. And I think that's probably the best tailwind that we have as a business overall is that, in neighborhoods across the US and in my little HOA, like I talk to my neighbors about these things. that is our small talk, and
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy it. And so, and we see that happening too. It's fun. So when you sign up for a plan, we actually get aerial imagery of your home to get really high resolution, trace your lawn, look for some issues, that kind of thing. So it's really tailored like that. But we'll see that when a new customer comes in and we're tracing their lawn, the lawn next door is traced already. It's already been reviewed.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's a wonderful moment. So we're just now launching a real referral system. We haven't had that, but we see it happening organically, which is really fun to see. Wow,
that's a fascinating data point that you have access to right there, as others that have had, evaluated the product, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And there had to be customers in order to have gone through that. So they were customers who definitely got their neighbor on board.
Are you doing any kind of referral program for existing customers to bring in their neighbors on board?
That's just starting now. So that'll be rolling out this spring. Really excited about that. So
that's got to be a huge one for this kind of thing, right? Everybody gets lawn envy and wants what their neighbors got. So
100%. Yeah. And I think that's the idea for us is to be able, it's funny in press and otherwise, when we talk about lawns, there's a bit of kind of like, well, we should just get rid of lawns. And it's like, well, that is not really a solution. The reality is like what you're talking about is that, these social practices and norms we have are not going anywhere. And we're making it so you can have a great looking lawn compared to your neighbors without resorting to using all those nasty chemicals. So, that's the goal. But 100%, those conversations and those connections are essential for our business. And we actually, sometimes we work backwards. We're thinking through messaging. We're like, what is someone going to tell their neighbor? Like, say it in their sentence. And they're not going to say all three of those things I mentioned a minute ago. They're going to mention one of them. So, and a lot of it's like, my lawn looks awesome, and it wasn't that hard. And that's kind of a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a bit about, you came from the food business, wholesale distribution. You have some experience in retail. What did you learn about some of the challenges of subscription and, having that kind of ongoing relationship with a customer and some of the challenges that presented with processes or technology?
It's just such a different business. The cycles of learning are so fast; they're daily. Whereas in the distributor, and when you're selling to retail, I'm not sure everybody your listeners are familiar with the structure, but we sell to a distributor who sells to a retailer who sells to a customer. Mm-hmm. And so we have that many levels of separation between us and the end user,
right?
And getting visibility into what the velocity, how well it's actually selling at the register level is pretty difficult to get in a lot of instances. So you're just kind of driving a ship with a pair of really foggy glasses on or something. Mm-hmm. It's more challenging. It takes more skill to really know what's going on. Whereas, when we're running direct to consumer business, we have our data coming in continuously. We could look at yesterday and say that day did or did not make sense for the business, right. And that clarity, sometimes it hurts, but it's also like it enables you to move really, really fast and adjust and change and continue to adapt.
So right there, you touched on, there's a lot of data, right? There's a lot of data to churn through, and it can be proliferated in a lot of different systems. Sometimes even third-party providers have your data. So how are you getting after all of that?
It's a skill set, right? And it's a capability from our team. It's not something that we can just turn on and it's something we've been building over time. So we've now integrated with Looker and other software programs so that we have better access to our data. Our entire platform is also built from scratch. It's entirely bespoke. So no Shopify or anything like that. So we really, we have to integrate with external services and build a lot on our own. Okay. We needed to do that because of the unique tailored nature of our offering to our customers. Like, when they get, what they get, all these sort of things are continually variable and based on weather and things you can't predict. So we needed a very flexible platform. So I think it's part of it's the tools, right? And being able to create the right reports that are driving the right insights and not the ones that you don't care about. And the other part is the discipline of the team. And, we have Monday meetings every single week where we review data and look through all of our KPIs. And getting everybody in a data-oriented mindset is the other half of it.
Gotcha. How did you build out the team around that? Because again, that's, if you come from a retail or wholesale business, that's the mind shift, right? So did you train people into this mindset or go find people who had experience in it?
I think both, the early team, in the ops department, Jay is our VP of ops, absolutely fantastic, incredibly deep, incredibly good in finance and operations. And he always brings a data mindset to these kinds of things. So that's been invaluable and helped driven that forward. To be honest, I'm more on the design and inspiration side of things. And so I would say it's even Jay who drives it harder than I do, although I'm pretty deep in the numbers as well. And then we also brought on Sam, who runs our entire marketing team. And he was head of acquisition at Dollar Shave Club. And so he brought him, with him, his practices from there. And, obviously they were very data centric there. So, that's an example of someone helped kind of push us to the next level there.
Gotcha. So like you said, a little bit of both, but, train people up in it as well as go find some people who've been there, done that.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Well, so granted, only a little less than 2 years into this now, still getting your data and kind of getting your feet set. But is there anything looking back so far that you've been like, man, if I had known this back then, I maybe would have made a different decision, or just constant pivoting exercise?
It's really, for me, a really unique situation where we started off with this thesis, this problem we wanted to solve, and the way we thought we would solve it. And an idea for how to create the future of the American backyard really is what it was. Mm-hmm. And it's still true today. Like the things we wrote in 2018, I read them now and I'm like, yep. And so that's just exceptional. And, I am much more accustomed to pivoting and to learning something I didn't expect, and finding a new opportunity, moving to an opportunity. And I think that's usually a really positive cycle. It's a good thing. But in the case of Sunday, we really had a laser focus on what we wanted to achieve, and that's been working well enough for us to keep going straight in that direction. Yeah. That said, our first year we were building the operations and supply chain while we were selling. Incredible challenges there. We're understaffed in customer service, and shipping late, which drove a lot more customer service tickets. And so we had definitely months of very challenging times, through all that, and we could have prepared better. But so there's certainly a number of those.
Right. Yeah. Never a shortage of those whenever you're running a startup, for sure. I guess looking into the near future, the next couple of years, you're scaling quickly and, have a lot of opportunities in front of you. I mean, what are some challenges that are coming that you're trying to get in front of now?
I think I'm very optimistic about where we're going and what we're building and the need for it in the market. There's 90 million American homes. Almost every one of them has a lawn. Like this is just an enormous category that so many consumers interact with on a daily basis. Sure. I think what we're doing, there's so much newness in what we're doing. I think there's challenge in that. We're not changing one variable. I used to laugh in CPG food, they would be like, oh, they made it in a snack size. That's the most innovative thing this year. And I'm like, that's not innovation. There was a lot, whereas, but I think, the consumers, sometimes it's nice to have that kind of step ladder in a different direction, whereas we kind of changed 8 variables at once. And so I think, there's an educational component, reputation, all those sort of things we're building, building our review base, those kinds of things. Yeah. I think it's,
Well, do you think it's more continuing to sell the core lawn care product to more and more American consumers, or maybe even going into other markets, or are there add-ons you're considering to kind of round out the offering to things that go well with this type of product?
Yeah, and so that's a great question. So, one of the things we see as a core competency here, and this is another whole skill set, right, is being able to develop products at a fairly rapid pace. We've created about 40 SKUs so far in 2 years. Oh, wow. In our industry, that's it's highly regulated to the point where these products are registered with the EPA and/or every single state individually. Okay. And so making a product is a very complex task in itself. And so, that team is a huge emphasis for us to be able to do that at that pace. And what that's looked like so far for our customers, is that core set of customizable nutrients that are based on a property's needs. And so about 15 of those SKUs, aren't shown to customers. They're just selected by us based on their environmental parameters. And then outside of that, there are things like grass seed. We have spot control for weed control. We have products around pets and lawns. And so really trying to make that entire lawn ecosystem work and cover all the aspects of lawn health. And then starting to move into areas like pest control. So, we have a mosquito yard spray and things like that are powered by essential oils. So, so moving slowly into the adjacent areas around lawn, but really lawn is our core focus.
So offering those products, are those all exclusive a la carte or subscription, or kind of a combination of both?
So currently you cannot buy anything on our website except for signing up for a plan. So we like to think of Sunday as a membership. And so, you get access to all of those things, and you have a lawn advisor you have access to help you through problems, things like that when you sign up for a plan. But otherwise, you can't buy those things independently.
Gotcha. Oh, interesting. Any plans to change that, or that's like become a member and then get access to things?
I think we just need to continue to keep going and learning, to convert Sunday into a marketplace where you can buy all kinds of things, or a subscription would be just such a massive shift to the business. Yeah. And would start to erode our ability to then, give customers a full experience and really tailor that for them. So, I like it the way it is now. We'll see what the customers want, though. I think that's the most important thing.
Seems like there's lots of opportunity just to reach the 90 million, lawn owners in the U.S. right there alone, right?
Yes, I mean, there's certainly no limit to the opportunity in the scale of the space, but that's. Yeah.
So, are there any particular challenges to expanding outside the U.S. That if you're looking at that you're considering?
We haven't really thought too deeply about expanding outside the U.S. To be honest with you, okay. Each of those markets outside the U.S. do have different cultural things that are actually a massive implication. So in the EU, for example, the positive for us is that professional care is not popular, whereas in the US, it's much more popular. Yeah. It's just culturally, when I talk to someone there and they're like, I would be really embarrassed if someone saw that I had hired someone to work on my property, and I love that. I get that. Yeah. But that was a mindset that's more pervasive there. But to be honest, it's not something we dug into, and I think we have so much in front of us in the U.S. and building our story and our brand here.
Right. Focus on where that there's growth here, and and to your point, it's not always as simple as just opening up your website to other IP addresses, right? There's cultural things. There's going to come payments come into play, tax, just so many considerations that, when it comes to cross-border selling come into play that people don't think about.
Yeah. And for us too, like we are a data platform. So we again, it's like ag tech for your backyard. So we would have to build a system or adapt our systems for those markets, those environments, and those climates, and then have the customer service teams who know those things too. Like our customer service teams, they have training every single week to learn about lawn disease identification, weed types, and they really know their stuff. And so a lot of that is transferable, but there'd be a lot of new things as well.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I feel like I could talk about this for a really long time. I'm a big fan, and actually spent a good bit of my high school and college career mowing lawns and doing a whole lot of landscaping and lawn care.
Love it.
And I'm still one of those guys. I'm going to admit that I do hire my lawn to be cut these days, but that's just a more factor of time than anything, because I love to do it. I mean, I love to be out there. We have pets. I have 2 kids, and having something out there that I'm not concerned about, what they've even tracked into the house, if there's something out spread in the yard, I think is really important. So great to hear about your business and how popular it's becoming. I hope you can continue to expand and can get to those 1 acre size lots here real soon.
I'll work on that, Nick, and we'll definitely get there.
Awesome. Well, tell our listeners where they can go to learn more about Sunday, and, if they want to get in contact with you, have any questions, where can they go?
Sure. Yeah. Go to getsunday.com. And, that will show you everything we offer, but also if you put your home address in, we kind of give a tease of a property analysis. And so we pull soil data, climate data, and data from our, other customers to be able to get an understanding of what your lawn is experiencing right now, what it might need. So it's kind of a fun thing to go through and learn about your property.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again, Coulter, so much for the time today. Really appreciate it. I've learned a bunch, and I trust all our listeners have as well. So we genuinely appreciate your time.
Thank you, Nick. It's really fun. Appreciate it.